my last lecture, I talked about the concept of emotional intelligence. In continuation with that, today I'll be talking about the emotional competence framework. So, when we talk about the emotional competence framework, it's about having the ability to both recognize and better understand the moods and emotions, and about understanding what drives those moods and emotions and how that it affects others. So in case of this particular competence framework, we are just trying to recognize and understand the different types of moods and different emotions associated with it, and how the moods and emotions are affecting other people. Now, in order to practice this skill, you must develop an awareness of your own emotional states. What these states are, that will be described under four heads. So, to better understand your emotional skills, the first step is to familiarize yourself with the four basic components of emotional intelligence. These are: number one, self-awareness. Self-awareness is nothing but awareness of yourself. So you know who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how you work. Then self management. Self management means when you know about yourself, then you can better manage yourself. Suppose if you know that you get up late in the morning, so when you have an office or when you have any professional commitment at that time, you will set an alarm so that you get up in the morning on time and you can leave home on time. So related to this particular self awareness, we have the self management skills. The greater you are aware about yourself, the greater you will have the self management skills. It is just like you say that I have a fear of height. So when you have a fear of height, wherever there would be any such occasion, you will try to avoid that particular risk. Same is the case with the organization. When you know that you are not competent in computer, or when you are very much competent in Excel, that time you take the decision accordingly. You either sometimes take the lead or you sometimes tend to remain on the backstage. It all depends upon what are your skills and whether you are aware of it or not. So you will not have an apprehension whenever the boss will ask you to do a job if you already have those skills to perform that task. The third one is the social awareness. Social awareness means the awareness of the surroundings, the people whom you are associated with, either formally or informally. Formal relation will be in the form of peer groups, colleagues, the boss, the organization. Informal relationship will be in the form of the neighbors, your friends, and any such person like priest of a temple, or anyone else with whom you share some different kind of relation as compared to the formal relationship. Now, when we are aware about the social things, we better manage the relationships. We know that the person is needing a help, so we will show the empathy towards the person, and by doing that, we can better manage the relationships. Take an example of banks. Today, if you are having your anniversary or your birthday, they will wish you on the day by sending you an email. And if you are a privileged customer, then they will call you and personally greet you and wish you for that particular occasion. So this is how the relationship management is. Without relationship management, you cannot achieve all the competence. So you have to have the self awareness, the self management skills, the social awareness skills, and finally the relationship management skills in order to say that yes, I am very much competent right now. Now, the Daniel Goleman, he had created an emotional competence framework model, which is in front of you on this particular screen right now. If you look at it, this is a quadrant, and this quadrant is having four different competencies. The first one is called as the self awareness. Second one is the social awareness. Third one is called as the self management, and the on the right hand corner below that particular social awareness, we have relationship management. Now, if you look at this particular competence framework, as I said, it tells you about what are your different moods and emotions and how it is affecting others. So if you are aware about yourself, people with such kind of competencies, people who have this competency of social awareness, they are First of all, emotional, and they are aware about themselves. They make the accurate self-assessment, and then they can make the emotional self-awareness also. What is their state of mind? Whether they are comfortable in doing the job or not, whether there is any reservation in order to do a work or not. So all these things can be possible only when if you are aware about yourself, and then it will lead towards the confidence. So anyone who is aware about their emotions, anyone who is aware about their mood, and with this particular competency they can do much better emotional self awareness and much better accurate self assessment. Followed by that, it will lead to the self confidence. Now if you look at on the right hand side of the quadrant, on the top and right hand side, you will find that the another competence is called as the social awareness. People with this competence are having greater empathy towards the people. For example, if you are working in an organization and some of your peer group or some of your colleague or some of your subordinate has fallen ill, you will probably show more empathy towards the person and will be more relaxed, and you would be showing your support towards the person. You will be very flexible to the person if at all you have this particular competency that is called as social awareness. There are people who sometimes ignore such type of things happening around them. It means that they are not having the social awareness competency, although they are aware but they are not bothered about it. People with more self social awareness skills will have more empathy towards the public, and that will lead to more organizational awareness. The greater organizational awareness will lead to greater service orientation. You will believe in service before self. Look at the defense people. Whenever there is any catastrophe, any natural calamity, any war-like situation, any pandemic-like situation, the army people, the defense people, the NDRF teams, they are the one who take the initiative. They throw their life on risk in the particular huge risk, and then they try to save the people because they have greater empathy towards them. They are being trained in that fashion that whenever if there is a requirement, they will not look at themselves, they will believe in service. So service orientation is there. Greater service orientation has been found in case of the people, those who are having this kind of competency. Now, if you look down towards the left hand side corner below, the quadrant tells you about the self management skills. Now, self management skill, people having this particular competency will have more emotional self control. They will be more transparent towards themselves as well as towards others. They have more flexibility and adaptability towards any situation, and they have the achievement orientation. It means they will be forming groups and teams in order to achieve something. Until and unless the goals are not achieved, they will not show their back. So they will be more achievement oriented. They will be the ones who will take more number of initiative. If they know that they don't know anything, they will be taking keen initiative to learn certain things. If they know that they know certain things better than others, they will take keen initiative in training others and developing others. So these people prove to be a very good leader in the organizations. And then they are always optimistic. They are not hypocrites. They are always optimistic people, and they don't try to ruin or they don't try to just embarrass and blame others. They rather try to cope up with the people, try to adjust with them, and try to convert the weaknesses of their peers, the weaknesses of their team members into the strength by helping them to reach at that particular goal. So, if you have this self awareness skills, you can do all these things. If you have self management skills, you can have better emotional self control, transparency, adaptability, achievement orientation, initiative taking skills, and greater optimism. Now, if you look at the relationship management part, it comes under the emotional competence framework as created by Daniel Goleman. Now, if you look at it, people with this competency are more prone towards developing others. They have greater inspirational leadership. I gave you the example of Nelson Mandela, then I gave you the example of Barack Obama, then Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Your current Prime Minister of India are Honorable Vice President of India, President of India, if you look at them, they may not be having that much of fan followership. But if you look at Virat Kohli, if you look at Narendra Modi ji, if you look at Rahul Gandhi, if you look at other such similar leaders like Uddhav Thackeray ji, you will find that they are inspiring the people in some other way because they believe in maintaining the relationships. When you maintain good relationship with the people, then the people will reciprocate the same, and it creates a very strong bonding. And such type of leaders are always appreciated because they don't have to use the authority of power to influence anyone or to compel anyone to do a job. Rather, the people will love to do the work under their particular guidance and supervision without any kind of conflicts. So, if you look at the relationship management, they the people having this competency, they act as a change catalyst in any organization. Even in defense also, you will find that some people maintain very good relations with their peers, with their colleagues, with their seniors, and with their subordinates, and they act as a change catalyst. People love to talk to them, interact with them, love to follow them, and they have a very good the particular family-like orientation, wherein people love to support them without any particular reason. They are the ones who are being most trusted in the organization because they have a positive relationship with others. Now if you look at it, the conflict management part, such type of people, they can act as a very good mediator also whenever there is any conflict kind of situation in any organization. And even if there is no conflict, if they are facing the conflict on their own, and if they are facing conflict because of some other reason wherein they are being involved, they are the ones who will take the initiative and will try to resolve the problems. And these are the people who believe in teamwork and collaboration. So in order to have that emotional competence, you need to have four different skills. The first one is called as self awareness, second one is called as social awareness. These skills comes under the heading of recognition. Then the third one is called as self-management and relationship management. These skills comes under the heading of regulation. When you recognize yourself and recognize others, then only you can regulate yourself and regulate others' behavior. If you don't know how to assess others, if you don't know about others, you will not be able to assess others. Similarly, if you don't know about yourself, you will not be able to control your behavior and control your emotions. So this is the emotional competence framework, and it is very important not just for your exams point of view, but also from your career point of view. In your career, you may meet such kind of people, those who are having such kind of skills. If you have the combination of all four, you are the right fit for the organization. Now, as we go ahead, we should understand the benefits of emotional intelligence in the workplace. Now, when we talk about the benefits, emotional intelligence has a very great amount of benefit in every organization, be it a public sector undertaking, private sector organization, or a government sector undertaking. But still, it is debatable because many authors feel that it is not just the emotional intelligence which will lead to the success in any organization, because many other things also contributes equally and in addition to the emotional intelligence. But whatever research have been done so far under emotional intelligence and assessing the performance of the people because of this particular skill, the outcomes are being shared in these points which I would like to highlight for you. The number one is better teamwork. As I just cleared you, if you have greater relationship management skills and self-regulation skills, probably you could prove to be a greater team player rather than an individual player. You will work in a team and you will get the results. It's undeniable that employees are able to work better on a team when they have a higher emotional intelligence. So look at Virat Kohli, look at Rohit Sharma, look at Ajinkya Rahane, and look at Rishabh Pant in Indian cricket team. You will find that every single player is having their own personality traits, which is influencing their leadership style. And when it is influencing their leadership style, someone loves to work with the team, but they are very aggressive. and people are accepting it because they feel that the person who is the leader is also the performer, so it is better to listen rather than to make a hue and cry. So you will also find some kind of leaders who are very good in terms of their technical knowledge, but people are not following them or they are unable to produce the results. For example, Sachin Tendulkar. When he was the captain, India faced many defeats, and because of that, under pressure, Sachin Tendulkar had left the captaincy of Indian cricket team. So it is not like that if you have greater amount of technical skills, you will be the best fit for the organization. It all depends how much degree of emotional intelligence you have and how you are utilizing all these competency towards the success of yourself and towards the success of the organization. Now, people having greater emotional intelligence will maintain better work environment. These will be the people those who would be very jolly, very lively, very humble, very polite and very happy. When the customer or the client will meet them even for once, they will carry the long term impression, the positive impression in their mind, and that is how the office environment will be very conducive and friendly. They will maintain a very great harmony with the stakeholders also, and they can make very great adjustments at very less effort because they love to be remain flexible. Then more self awareness, these are the people who have greater self awareness, and then when they have a greater self awareness they can have a better self control. They have the compassion towards others. As I just clearly mentioned, if you have a greater social awareness, then you can maintain good relations even if the person whom you are meeting is a beggar, or the person whom you are meeting is a very old fellow, or the person whom you are meeting is a kid or a teenager, or of any age group, any caste, creed, gender, relation, ethnicity, or any financial background. You will have compassion for others, even for animals also. Then time management skills. People with this kind of emotional intelligence skills have better time management skills also. And they give motivation to others as well as to self to achieve the goals and to remain on the right track. So these are the benefits of emotional intelligence. If you have any doubt, you may please ask me immediately. Any questions so far? Vinod, I could not hear you. I think you wanted to say something. Any questions, please? I cannot hear you, Vinod. How about others? Any questions? I would request others to kindly unmute yourself and tell me if you have any doubts. Yes.
No, sir, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubts. Network.
Okay, thank you. Narayan Giram is attending this session right now, and Madhuri, you both are requested to kindly put your roll number before your name as a prefix. Otherwise, your attendance will not be considered for this session. I request you once again to keep your roll number as a prefix, otherwise, your attendance will not be recorded for any session. This is the message for
Okay,
Narayan
sir.
Giram and Madhuri. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. So let us now understand the difference between IQ and EQ. Right from the time when we have taken admission in the school, we are being taught about the concept of IQ. The teachers used to say कि इसका IQ उससे ज़्यादा है. So what is an IQ? It's called as an intelligence quotient. और ऐसा बोला जाता है जिसका IQ ज़्यादा है वो चीज़ों को जल्दी से समझ लेता है. वो सम्स को, प्रॉब्लम्स को, जो जो भी आपकी लर्निंग्स हैं या क्लासरूम में जो भी टीचिंग हो रही है, उन चीज़ों को वो जल्दी से समझ के उसको रिस्पॉन्ड कर सकता है. जिसका आईक्यू लेवल जितना लो होता है उसको उतना ही डम कंसीडर किया जाता है कि वो उसको चीजें देर से समझती हैं और वो देर से रिएक्ट कर पाता है. सो लेट अस नाउ अंडरस्टैंड द रोल ऑफ आईक्यू एंड ईक्यू in organizational behavior. Through this particular comparison, I would make an attempt to help you to understand the difference between the two, and thereby you will also understand the significance of both the two terms in case of organizational behavior practices in any organization. Now, IQ is called as an intelligence quotient. It is a total score derived from a set of standardized tests or subsets designed to assess the human intelligence. So IQ is basically the total score which has been derived from the standardized test for which uh, the IQ has been prescribed, and then if you carry out those particular tests or if you take part in those tests, your score will be derived and it will help others to assess your intelligence level. Now, if you look at the emotional intelligence, it is also called as emotional quotient. It is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve the stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, and overcome challenges and diffuse the conflict. Now, if you look at it, both IQ and EQ are very important for any organization, right from lower level to the top level. You will find that there should be the right mix of IQ and EQ. If you are at the lower level and if you are at the mid level, you are supposed to have high degree of IQ and EQ. But when you go at the higher level, you will find that the people with a great emotional quotient are the ones who prove to be a great leader. They need not require all the technical knowledge. They need not require to know everything. Every corner of this world is not needed to be known for them, but still they can prove to be a great leader if they have high degree of emotional quotient, because that will help them to diffuse not only their stress but to diffuse others stress also, the anxiety also, and they will be the ones who will be in a better position to communicate effectively. They have greater power of just overcoming from challenges, and then they can empathize with others. Take an example of politicians. Take an examples of some uh, people, those who have raised lot of uh, protest, and they have raised their voice for many such kind of issues. Anna Hazare is one of the example. He is a great social leader, and he brought a lot of social transformation in his own village and in rest of the world also. So when I talk about emotional quotient, as you grow in the corporate ladder and as you go up, you will find that many such people, they are having greater degree of emotional quotient as compared to intelligence quotient, because in leadership and in day to day working you are supposed to have greater degree of emotional quotient. You may not have all the skills, like in case of IT companies. The IT companies have team leaders, project managers. So these project managers and team leaders may or may not have that great degree of all the skills for all the projects which the company is getting, but still they can manage the team very well because they have greater degree of other skills, managerial skills, supported by the EQ, and that is helping them to work smoothly and get the things done easily from others. So if you look at the IQ and EQ combination, right combination for every job will lead to the success. You cannot say that without IQ anyone can survive. Even the politicians also have an IQ, how to react to a situation. Recent incidents that took place in West Bengal, the chief minister of West Bengal got injured. What exactly has happened? The God knows. But then the media news and other things are telling something else. So you need to have that much control and that much eagerness to connect with the people. The more you can connect with the people, the more you will get the positive reciprocation from other end. And if you look at the IQ part tells you how to solve a particular problem only. But IQ will not be able to help you to solve the problems related to your life. Suppose if your subordinate is suffering from fever, you cannot use your IQ to solve his particular problem. You need to be empathetic to the person. You need to support the person emotionally by telling the person to take rest. And if there is any work pending with the person, you can share the load. So next time when you fall ill or whenever you have any particular work and you want to take a leave, the other person will support you. So in this way, you will win the trust of others, and then the others will be associated with you not just for that particular moment but for a longer period of time. You might find some of your friends who are still connected with your school teachers, who are still connected with the college teachers, but some of you have not even bothered to contact these fellow members, even though you were also a part of that school and that institution. But only very few from your batch have taken this initiative to remain connected with those teachers, faculty members, gurus, and still they are obliged towards them. So this shows the humbleness. The more you are humble, the more you are empathetic, the more people will have trust on you, and then you will prove to be a good leader if you have such kind of skills. So when I talk about IQ, IQ tells about the high concentration. If you have a great IQ, then you will have a high concentration. Whatever work you will do it with full concentration. Less IQ will lead to less concentration. Then intense focus. You will have a great focus also towards a work, towards any situation. Focus will be high. Just like Arjun, at the time of testing, when Dronacharya, the guru, wanted to test the skills, archery skills of all the Pandavas, then he asked this question from everyone by hanging a bird on a tree and asking this question from every person, every Pandava brother, that did you see? Everyone was responding in their own way. Someone was saying that I can see the tree, the forest, the clouds, the sun, and everything. It was only Arjuna who just spoke about the eye of the bird. It shows the great degree of concentration and the intense focus that he was having. Because of that, Dronacharya had selected him as his disciple for teaching the archery skills over other Pandava brothers. So that's an example. If you look at the corporate world today, the corporate world is not so different from the epic Mahabharata, the epic Ramayana. Everywhere you will find the characters. Everywhere you will find that someone is grabbing the market share of someone else. Everywhere you will find that there is a cutthroat competition. Some competitor is bleeding while other one is enjoying. So in this cutthroat competition, you need to have the right balance of IQ also. Otherwise, your competitor will surpass you and then you will remain on the lower position at the bottom of the table. Now, if you look at it, if you have the greater IQ, you will have a greater degree of comprehension, analytical skills, and obviously the excellent memory. When we talk about Mahatma Gandhi, when we talk about Albert Einstein, these were the people those who had very high IQ. It is said that Mahatma Gandhi's IQ was higher as compared to the normal human beings. That is why he could write from both the two hands in different language at the same time. So IQ is really very important. You must have seen the movie Three Idiots, wherein Viru Sahasrabudhe, the principal of the engineering college, he used to write from the both hands in order to save time. I'm not asking you to write from both hands, but then I'm just giving you an example to understand as to how the greater IQ will contribute in your day-to-day education, in your day-to-day learning life, and what role it is going to play in influencing your concentration, your educational skills, and other skills. Now, when we look at the EQ part, EQ talks about the self-awareness. EQ also talks about self-regulation, the empathy part, and the social skill parts. A right combination of IQ and EQ will lead to the success in personal life as well as in the professional life. In any corporate organization, these are the skills which are highly desirable. When we talk about IQ skills, it talks about the technical skills, right? The conceptual skills. When we talk about EQ, it talks about the human skills. So human skills, technical plus conceptual skills will lead to the success for any particular given work. You will find yourself more competent as compared to others if you have the right combination of these skills. Now let us understand with the help of this table what is the difference between IQ and EQ in a nutshell. When we talk about the meaning of IQ, intelligence quotient is a number that has been obtained from standardized intelligence test which represents an individual ability of logical reasoning. High IQ will lead to greater logical reasoning. Such people are more competent for any competitive exams. EQ refers to an individual level of emotional intelligence which is represented by scores obtained in a standardized test. When we talk about IQ, the measures are general intelligence, whereas in case of EQ, the measure is the emotional intelligence. How emotionally intelligent you are in understanding and predicting others' behavior, others' emotions, and others' mood. Let us talk about the acquisition part. When we say IQ, it is somehow an inborn ability. And when we talk about EQ, it has been learned where you are living and it is the improved ability. Over a period of time, you can improve your EQ skills. It is in your hand. So these are not inborn skills. When we talk about IQ, sorry, when we talk about IQ has the ability for learning, understanding, and implementing knowledge, the logical reasoning, and abstract thinking. When we talk about the ability of EQ, it helps in recognizing, controlling, and expressing one's emotional uh, behavior, emotional state, perceive and others' emotions. Now, when we talk about IQ, it ensures success in the schools, whereas the EQ helps in success in your life to a very great extent. When we talk about IQ, it helps in recognizing people with high intellect, common sense, mental challenges, etc. Whereas the EQ helps in creating great leaders, captains, managers, and people with social challenges. So, this is the difference. I hope everyone has understood it. If there is any doubt, we will put the questions towards the end of the session. Now, let us understand the difference between personality and attitude. Personality, we all talk about it right from the time when we go to the school and the time when we work in an organization. Everywhere we hear this term, the personality. Even common man also defines the personality in their own way. So let us now understand why are some people quiet and passive while the others are loud and aggressive. Are certain personality types better adapted than others for certain jobs? And before that, we can answer these questions. We need to address a more basic one. What is personality? So let us understand the personality and attitude. So when we talk about personality, it has been derived from the Latin word persona, which means a mask. ये वो मास्क है जो हर किसी के ऊपर एक लगा हुआ है. आप उसको उसके पर्सनालिटी से उसको रिकॉग्नाइज करते हैं. द विजिबल एस्पेक्ट ऑफ वंस कैरेक्टर एज इट्स इम्प्रेसेस अदर्स. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आप बोलते हैं उसकी बहुत प्लीजिंग पर्सनालिटी है. वो बंदे की पर्सनालिटी बिल्कुल भी अच्छी नहीं है. वो देखने में ही बिल्कुल डाउन लगता है विद द शोल्डर्स विच आर ड्रूपिंग. The person is not fit for the organization. You make just immediate impression about any person, even if you are meeting for the first time in the life. This is being related to the personality of the person, because personality will relate to that attitude, behavior, response, and the action of a person, and through that you will judge a person for the organization's job role. If at all you are going to work with the person, you will guess about the person based on his physical, mental, emotional, and social characteristics. If those characteristics matches with yours, then your wavelength with the person will be very strong and you will have a great bonding with the person. If you look at the celebrities, they have a different personalities. If you look at the soldiers, they have a different personality, taking a risk, taking a real life challenge. So there is a difference between a real life and a real life. If you look at the doctors, the corona warriors, they are also the heroes. They had saved lives of millions by putting their life in danger. So, whenever they had faced a peril, still they had not sweated, they had not turned their back to the patients. So when you talk about the personality, it is the sum total of the physical, mental, emotional, and social characteristic of an individual. And personality is the combination of characteristics, qualities that forms a person's unique identity. Every person is having a unique identity, just like a thumb impression. No two persons in this world can have the unique or can have the same thumb impression. Similarly, no two persons in this world can have exactly 100% same personality. There will be some difference. It could be 1 or 2% also, but no two persons are same in terms of their personality traits. We will understand this personality with the help of the examples given by the authors, and will try to understand what personality is in terms of the theory. So, according to Anderson and Parker, personality is the total of habits, the attitudes, and traits that results from the socialization and characterizes us in our relationships with others. According to Lawrence Pevin, personality represents those structural and dynamic properties of an individual or individuals as they reflect themselves in characteristic response to situations. The best definition which I found very much linked with this, I have just kept it towards the end. That is the definition by Fred Luthans. According to him, personality is how people affect others and how they understand and view themselves, as well as their pattern of inner and outer measurable traits and the person situation interaction. आप लोगों को किस तरीके से अफेक्ट करते हैं, कैसे ट्रीट करते हैं, खुद को कैसे ट्रीट करते हैं, किस तरीके से आपका ये पैटर्न है और ये कौन से मेजरेबल ट्रेट हैं. जैसे आप बोलते हैं ये बहुत गुस्से वाला है, ये बहुत शांत है, ये बहुत शर्मीला है, ये बहुत अच्छा है, ये बहुत इनिशिएटिव लेता है, राइट. तो ये सारी चीजें जो हैं ये पर्सनालिटी ट्रेट्स हैं. ये किसी इंसान के बिहेवियर को अफेक्ट करती है, प्लस उस इंसान का दूसरों से किस तरीके से बॉन्डिंग है, किस तरीके का एसोसिएशन है, किस तरीके का रिलेशनशिप है, उसको भी अफेक्ट करते हैं, राइट. तो बोला जाता है कि अगर हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ है तो एक आग और एक पानी अगर होगा तो ज्यादा अच्छा होगा. अगर दोनों ही आग बन जाएंगे तो आग से आग लगेगी और आग और भड़केगी. आग का मतलब यहाँ पे होता है, इट्स अ मेटाफॉर विच आई हैव यूज्ड टू डिस्क्राइब दैट if one person is aggressive, the other person has to be very calm and quiet. If both the two person will start shouting in a marriage, then probably the marriage won't last for a long. So it is very much essential for you as a leader to have a right personality for the particular job. If you want to be a soldier, the personality should be that to face the challenge, accept the challenges, take on the initiatives, ability to lead others, ability to follow the instructions, and control your anger. So this is how the personality trait, which is very essential from the point of view of a defense. Now, when you look at the defense sector, I'll give you a very fantastic example, the real life example which I've seen. When I was conducting a training for Indian Navy in 2019, I saw the newly recruits, the cadets. Those were totally shaved right from the head, and none of them were having hairs. So I just asked this question from the captain one day, that why do you keep them totally shaved, why they cannot uh, have their own hairs, why they cannot groom their own personality. Then the captain has told me that if we allow the cadets to keep the hairs, first of all, they will sweat on the field, and that sweating will lead to distraction. The second reason is some people are very cautious about their hairs and they might embarrass others, those who are not having the hairs. So everyone should look alike, and for that purpose, the dress, the food, the particular benefits, and especially the grooming is done at par for all the cadets who are joining the Navy. This is not just applicable to Navy, it is also applicable to Air Force and Army. So through this, I have just tried to explain you what is personality. When you look at Richard Branson, the CEO of Virgin Company, he has set up a very great and very huge empire for entertainment, travel, and leisure industry. He is having a very right mix of personality, And because of that, in any advertisement of Virgin, they are highlighting Richard Branson only as an actor because they feel that people will be more connected towards him rather than putting any actor or actresses in place of him for creating awareness about the Virgin.